Hello YouTube, or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We post natively in the modern day. Today marks 10 years since the first time I posted a video on my YouTube channel. I'd like to go back a bit and talk about that person and who they were and how we ended up here and why I haven't posted a video in like a year. When I posted that first video, I was 17 years old, and I was very afraid of what? Of everything, in short. I had always, growing up, identified as a fighter in some way, shape, or form. I was a fighter. Whether that was me being just relentlessly scrappy on the sports field or an extremely vocal goalkeeper screaming at defenders who were much taller than I to get them organized. I was also the shortest in my class, and naturally that created a complex within me. I was like, in the pictures, school pictures, I was the one that was like in the front of the line. That was me. I did that. I always felt that something was like stacked against me. Like I had to be resilient and I had to survive. I had to overcome. That was always in there as a kid. For the first time in my life, when I pressed upload on February 10th of 2010, after editing that video for over 18 hours, because I had no idea what I was doing, I felt a sense of control over my life that I never had ever in my life. And that video is bad. By any metric, that video is extremely bad, but I was so proud of it, and it was something that I had made, something I had created from nothing and worked very, very hard on. I was so excited. I shared it with every single person in my life. I always loved to make people laugh, to make them feel good. That's still the case to this day. It's something that is really important to me. I want to make people feel good. It was never about me. It was always about other people. I wanted to help. I wanted to fix things. I wanted to make people feel better. I wanted to make them laugh. I wanted to make them have a good time. I kind of wanted attention through that, but it was never really about me. I wanted attention to like a facade in front of me, because how dare you actually try to attempt to perceive me? I'm unknowable. I'm a creature of the night. I'm unknowable, and how dare you try to perceive me? All I knew was that I didn't feel good a lot of the time. In my heart, I didn't really feel safe. I felt uneasy. I felt like, I felt behind, and I didn't want anyone else to feel like that. And so I spent all of my energy trying to do two things: trying to make people feel nice and better and happier, and also trying to avoid how I was feeling. It was all avoidant. It wasn't about actually dealing with it or fixing myself. It was about fixing other people, focusing on that, having a great time, and getting that dopamine hit of attention when I would crush a joke. That worked. That worked, my whole childhood. That worked into high school. That worked, for a very long time, until it didn't. And it really stopped working. I went away to college and hit a wall, got very, very sick, was in a very toxic environment that failed me institutionally in a lot of ways. And I came out of that basically on the verge of death. Not to sound intense or anything, but yeah. When I was healing from that and getting sober and trying to piece my life back together, in a way, it all kind of felt natural. I grew up a survivor. I grew up a fighter. I grew up resilient. That was the narrative I wrote for myself. It was simple as winning. It was losing. It was overcoming all odds and having that nice movie montage moment where all of the pain suddenly became worth it. It was really easy to slot recovery into that narrative. My videos started playing a really significant part in that. It became, I used to describe it this way, as a feedback loop. It's like I wanted to be a better person so that I could make better videos, so I could be a better person, and so on and so forth. And it would feed back on itself, and then one day I would be happy. And the thing that came to represent that happiness was moving to Los Angeles. And I went very, very hard during that time. I was working full time, making 2 videos a week, and those videos were really intense, and I was going real hard. I was going so hard, and all of a sudden I had enough money, and I felt like I could move to Los Angeles, and I started the road trip, and then I moved out here, and then I got everything that I had worked for. I accomplished the thing that I set out to do. The thing that I had in my mind and in my heart symbolized as winning in the end. The thing about life is that it keeps going until it doesn't. And my life kept going, and I had no idea who I was anymore. That narrative didn't fit didn't really fit the mold anymore, and I really wasn't really sure what my place was in it. I wasn't really sure what my place was on YouTube either. I had a lot of friends who were being massively successful, like influencers, getting all these brand deals and blah, blah, blah. And I tried my hand at that, and it wasn't authentic to me, and it felt wrong, and it also felt like, in a way, I never really planned for that. It was almost weirdly. I started feeling a little bit alienated from my own community, and a lot of that was self-imposed, I just felt like I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, so when I would go to parties or whatever, and people would be like, what are you working on? I wouldn't really have a solid answer to that, and I felt shame, felt embarrassed. All the while, I was still giving so much of myself. And those things were so important to me, and you guys were so important to me, and having those conversations and talking about these things. It was all so very, very intense. Like, life and death stuff is freaking intense. And you shouldn't take that lightly, because none of it is light. When I moved out here and I accomplished the biggest goal that I had ever set for myself, a goal that I had achieved, that I had built from scratch and achieved, I didn't feel pride. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel energized and excited for whatever the next phase was. I felt lost. I felt like that fighter identity that had carried me for so long, it just didn't really fit anymore. What was I fighting? I wasn't really fighting anything anymore. My life was going well. All the things that I had fought, I had defeated, and now I had nothing left to fight. Or so I thought. Started fighting myself. Started really going at it, repeating all of those really ugly cycles of abuse that I had lived through. I was like, that's all I know. So subconsciously, I started being really mean to myself. It's been like 4.5 years that I've lived out here, and I really have continued to feel that way, which is sad to me. I don't deserve to feel that way. None of us deserve to feel down on ourselves, especially when things are going pretty well. Why am I talking about this? Creating videos started reminding me of all the things that hurt me. And so the idea of doing it started hurting me. I walked away from it. I walked away from the best thing that ever happened to me. I walked away from a vibrant, wonderful, diverse, intelligent, empathic, just amazing group of people congregated around things that I have made. I put it on the back burner, and I decided to sort of get a job and focus purely on that and really think in the present. I often describe it as shrinking my ambition a little bit. I describe the past couple years of my life, and I'm hoping I'm near the end of it. It's like my chrysalis phase. I'm in the thing, turning myself into goo and metamorphosizing, getting a little lost in order to get myself found again. And I found a lot of really amazing things. I really have. I found a love for cats. I went from being allergic to cats to having 2 cats that are the love of my life. The joke that I often make is that I've spent the last several years literally transitioning into a crazy cat lady. Anyway, I'm sure many of you know the story of Socks, but then there's also Sneakers, who was found in a parking lot by a construction zone and then ended up in my house and now in my heart. All right, get out of here, guys. I've learned a lot about how to communicate with other people outside of myself. I've been a bit of a homebody for my whole life, and through a lot of the work that I've been doing, I've really kind of come out of my shell in a way, and I can interact with the world a lot more effectively than I ever have. Myself is emerging and revealing themselves to me on a daily basis, and it's nothing short of magical and wonderful. So when I talk about all of these things and all of this pain, it's not all bad. I don't look back on my time on the internet negatively. In fact, I do quite the opposite. I am so proud of what we all did together over the years. I'm so proud of the opportunities that I've had, to be able to do so young, especially given where I'd started from. It's amazing. It's so good. I think about all these things, I think about the past, I think about the present, what I want, and all of these really good things that are happening to me. And it's something that I've only recently allowed myself to understand is that my heart is kind of missing. I felt stuck. I felt silent. I felt very, very tiny, like 3 inches tall. And that's sad to me. A really interesting way of thinking about emotions for me lately has almost diminished their role. If you've known me for a while, You know I like feelings. You know I have many of them. You know the feelings that we all have collectively together are very, very big. They're very large, and they happen all the time. I used to think that feelings were truth. They were everything to me. My entire experience was based on feeling. Feelings are the most honest thing that exists. They are the most human thing that exists. Everything is about emotion. Everything is about feeling. What I've come to learn as I've grown up is feelings themselves are not answers on their own. They're not answers. What they are, they're clues. They're our body and our mind telling us what we need. The tricky thing about that, though, is that they don't just tell us outright. They're real sneaky about it. They give it to us via emotions that are fed through a lifetime's worth of filters, whether that's experience, whether that's just the way that we're wired, and all of these core feelings get fed, and all of a sudden they come out as things like anger or sadness or hopelessness or fear. And our job is to translate. It's like we're downloading zip files, encrypted zip files that are like what we need, and we gotta hack it. We gotta figure out how to decrypt these so we can read what the actual message is. My life is going pretty well, but I keep having these experiences, and my reactions to those experiences are so extreme. They're so big. They're so just massive, and I get crushed by them. And I think I've figured out what my heart's trying to tell me. I think I need to come home. Home for me is an interesting concept, but this is the closest I've ever felt to home in my life. You all, these videos, the conversations, the ideas, just the putting together of thoughts into a video, all of it, that's home for me. Art, it's home, and I need to go home. Because right now, in the present, I have everything that I need. I'm doing much better than I think. I think that's true of all of us. I think that a lot of times when we feel broken down, we feel victimized, we feel completely beaten up by the world, and we just look in the mirror and we feel completely dejected and worn out. That's what the world wants us to think. And maybe I'm tapping back into that fighter mentality, but I refuse. I keep going. We have everything we need, I think, so long as we keep putting one foot in front of the other, so long as we keep trying to be a little bit better today than we were yesterday. All these things that I've talked about over the years, that all remains true. So I think I'm gonna come home a little bit more often and share with y'all, see where it goes, see what happens, just because I miss it. For those who have stuck around, I am so grateful. I feel so silly that I've almost forgotten, or not necessarily forgotten, but almost blocked the ability to emotionally resonate, just the connections that have been made through this. And I'm really grateful that y'all exist. I'm really grateful that, you guys want me back. and everything. I don't know what shape any of this will take, but I'm excited to find out. And I think that's really all it is. Anyway, enough sappy crap, okay? I'm done. No, I'm not. I look forward to the next time that our paths will cross again. And in the meantime,
thanks for watching. You've just become this much more awesome.